massive announcement. Ballon d'Or 2021 has just been announced. Harry, you've not won it this year.
No, I haven't won it again.
After announcing your international retirement a year ago, you must be disappointed.
I am disappointed, mate, but I've just come to expect it, man.
Yeah, favouritism, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a plastic trophy.
Lionel Messi again. The bloke's a freak. Did he deserve it? Is that the first thing I'll ask? Did he deserve it, or
No, he didn't deserve it.
no?
No, and I'll tell you for one. So 7th time Ballon d'Or. It's the first Ballon d'Or that he's won that he hasn't deserved. I want to make that very clear. The other 6, yeah, fair enough. Firstly and foremost, he is the best player in the world.
No, I agree. He is the best player in the world. Yeah.
Has he been the best player in the world over the last 12
No,
months?
that's a different question.
No. And that's what I think the trophy is about.
24 months. I'm going to
24 months. Totally agree with you. And that's the point I'm making. But for me, Lionel Messi's performances this season, I think this award has come on the back of Argentina winning the Copa America,
yeah.
which to me is a flip of a coin.
Do you know, it's funny, I said to you before Copa America, if I remember correctly, I just had a feeling, I was looking at this year, the Copa America, and usually you've got Uruguay usually have a good side, Chile had a good side and won it a couple of times, even like Colombia have a half decent side. This year I was just looking at it, there were only 2 sides,
Absolutely.
Brazil and Argentina. Without trying to be a captain hindsight, it was pretty plain to me, if the draw aligned properly, those were going to be the 2 sides in the final. You had a 50-50 chance. And it was, and obviously Argentina won. I'm not one bit surprised. As with anything, in not just sport, but particularly sport, you find when you've got 2 rivals, that when one does something, the other goes and does it. Do you find that a lot? So you get it with Messi and Ronaldo. It was just like evident. Ronaldo wins the Euros. Messi'd even it up with the Copa America. It was never going to be the World Cup.
No.
It was always going to be the equivalent, just to keep that, it's just Sob's law, and just to keep that argument going.
Yeah, it is, mate. And don't get me wrong, right? I don't think, in terms of just talking about Messi's legacy, I don't think people talk about him not winning an international trophy. I don't think that matters a hoot, to be honest.
No, not really.
If he was born in
this is the
Australia,
point.
he was never going to win the World Cup.
You always say exaggerate a point to make a point, and it's absolutely right. If he scored 30 goals a game for the entirety of his career and ended up with 1,000 goals, but he was born in Afghanistan, so he didn't win a World Cup.
Exactly, yeah. George Best never won an international trophy. People don't talk about him in any less of a regard than they did.
That's right.
This Ballon d'Or, though, for you, no question, Robert Lewandowski.
Well, he said he was robbed of it last year. This should be a second one, man. It should be a second one. And to be clear, you're absolutely right. You've echoed my thoughts. Messi's a better footballer than Lewandowski. I don't doubt that, and he still is right now. But I'm gonna throw a curveball out there. Going back to 2017-18, I'm not saying he deserved to win it. Don't mishear me. But he certainly had a very strong argument with Mo Salah. Because again, and the reason I say this, Mo Salah wasn't the best player in the world. At that point, he was probably not in the top 6, 7. He was probably about 6th in the world, something like that. The question you're asking is, was he the best player in the world that season? Mm-hmm. A good argument, wasn't there? In 2017-18, he scored what? Broke the Premier League record for goals, scored about 44 all competitions in a Liverpool side that finished 4th in the league. Isolating that season on its own, which, correct me if I'm wrong, that is what the award's about, is it not?
Well, it has to be. It's the only fair way of doing it.
Because that's a different question. If you're asking me who is the best player in the world, it is Lionel Messi. Who is the best player in the world this season? Well, not, or even the last season. It's Robert Lewandowski.
Yeah. It has to be performance-based. Otherwise, it would just be Messi until the day he retires.
Why did they never do it? Just because of COVID? What's that got to do with anything? The game still took place.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because you're absolutely right. So they've not awarded a Ballon d'Or in 2020 on the basis of the fact that COVID disrupted the season. Absolute bollocks, as far as I'm concerned. Absolute nonsense. The only difference between 2020 and any other year for the last 100 years in football,
70% of it behind closed doors.
Well, not even that. Well, yes, take your point, but it was about the reduction in fixtures. No, they played the same amount of games.
Yeah, they did.
The only difference, they condensed it into a 4-month period and had their summer break between March and June.
If anything, it was more intense.
It was more intense. They played, I guarantee it, give or take 1 or 2 games. Robert Lewandowski kicked the ball as many times in 2020 as he did in 2019. It was utter nonsense, and he should be picking up the Ballon d'Or for the second time this evening. For some reason, he's been robbed a bit. They did give him Europe's Best Striker award or something like that as like this token gesture of like they did when they gave Messi the Golden Ball in 2014 after losing the final. Absolute nonsense. The Ballon d'Or trophy has been very much discredited over the last few years, and that doesn't do it any good at all.
It's not all about goals. It's about the world's best player. And it's the world's best player of the year. But you know what? I saw something earlier. I can't remember the exact amount of goals to games. But it averaged out, the maths man that I am, I just remember the ratio, it averaged out a nudge over 1.2 goals a game. I don't know whether that was 60 and 50 or 48 and 40, I don't remember, but it was just over 1.2 goals a game for the best part of 40 or 50 games for Lewandowski. It is unbelievable. And do you know what? Had the Ballon d'Or happened last year, I think we're all in unanimous agreement. I don't think you'll find anybody who will say he wouldn't have won it. Bayern Munich won the lot. He was their best player, and he broke records for goals. An alternative spin on this argument. Would you agree with that, firstly? He would have won it last year.
Yeah.
If it went ahead. Right, there you go. So he would have won it last year. On the basis, like you said, Bayern Munich won everything. Yeah? Messi winning it this year on the basis they won the Copa America. Now, the reason that he's probably not getting it this year is because Bayern Munich didn't win the Champions League. Can I just add, they got knocked out by PSG and Lewandowski didn't play in either leg.
Correct.
So is that not an argument from Lewandowski's part, but I'm that good, the 2 games I missed, we got knocked out?
100%. And I watched both games thinking,
Choupo-Moting got goals.
About 7. Yeah, he scored. Yeah.
He scored in both legs, Choupo-Moting.
Yeah.
So, ultimately, like you said, Lewandowski could have got a hat-trick in both games against PSG. If he plays those 2 games and Bayern Munich do win the Champions League, suddenly I think we're in a position where it's no contest. So what we're punishing a player for being injured for 2 games.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's effectively what it comes down to, because I think they'd have been in a very good position to win the Champions League again last season had they been in it. And there seems to be an agenda against Lewandowski because not only has he not won the Ballon d'Or this evening, whereas, personally I think he deserved to, Erling Haaland won Bundesliga Player of the Year. The season that Lewandowski broke Gerd Muller's 40-year record, scoring 42 league goals or something ridiculous like that. So he's been robbed of 2 personal trophies in the space of sort of 6 months. Absolute daylight robbery as far as I'm concerned.
Anyone else in the running other than those 2 for you?
Erling Haaland, I think I wouldn't have gave it to him, but I think he should have been in the conversation as a nominee. I'm sure he was. Kevin De Bruyne. I think if obviously he's had a few injuries, and City lost in the final, I think Kevin De Bruyne is a joke. I think he's an absolute joking player, and he would have been. Players get 3 votes. I think the only people that get a vote are players and managers, aren't they? Like they don't ask Dave down the pub for his vote. It's very much an exclusive. Pros get a vote and the coaches get a vote. I think so anyway. He would have been one of my 3, I think, Kevin De Bruyne. But Lewandowski, it would have been unanimously towards him if I was making the vote.
Player you didn't mention, none other than Mo Salah. I'm going to say rightly so. Obviously, people are saying he's the best player in the world right now. I think right now he is. Right now being the last 3 months. We're talking about, just to be clear, Ballon d'Or is voted on last season, isn't it? It's not actually voted on this year, I don't think. But anyway, we're talking about a year's basis here. He wasn't the best player in the world for a year. How close is he? And how good are Liverpool right now?
Great question. How close is Salah? He's very close. Timing is everything in football. Jorginho was close to being sold by Chelsea a year ago, and now 12 months on, he was a big nominee for the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, that's one that we didn't mention. Yeah.
Which, again, timing is everything. You have a good second half of the season, you're more likely to be voted for the PFA Player of the Year than if you have a strong start and all that.
Yeah.
Salah obviously being good at the start of the season, he's got to keep that up. But mate, he's very close. He's very close. He's the best I've ever seen him. He's as fit as I've ever seen him. He's as clinical as I've ever seen him. He's definitely up there. I think the problem with Salah, and I've said it quite a lot, there's just something. There is just something. Similar to Lukaku, when you talk about the conversation of the elite number 9s. Similar about Salah, I think it's because he misses a lot that doesn't sit right with me. But right now, mate, he should be in the conversation.
It's taking it away from the Ballon d'Or, the second part of that question, really. So Liverpool, do they slightly do the way that Liverpool play and do how good Liverpool actually are slightly overstate Salah's ranking, if you will. As in, what I'm trying to get at there is, if Salah played for a different side, would he be as good?
Great question. There's an element of that. I think the fact that Liverpool are so dominant and he gets a lot of chances, he scores every week. That obviously makes a difference. You're scoring every week. So probably, but then again, you could say that about all the top sides. Messi's played for a poor side a lot of the season, and that's why he's been poor.
Yeah.
So yeah, yes and no. But no, Matt, I think he's an elite player. Would you get your vote? Or?
No, it'd have been Robert Lewandowski. Without
second,
Messi,
third,
De Bruyne,
fourth.
Oh, he's really pushing me.
Would he be in the top 5 for you, Salah? Right, like if over a course of a year.
Yeah, I'd probably just about imagine probably about 5th, something like that. Yeah.
And now he's playing in what seems like Liverpool's strongest team they've been able to field, and I feel, I don't know about you, that they look like they've had 5 new signings this season, despite signing absolutely no one.
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? Diogo Jota has been awesome. I put out a TikTok video regarding that. I was really impressed with him at the weekend. Thought he was really good. Thiago's been good in the last couple of games. Starting to see the player that we wanted to see when he signed for Liverpool. Looked like it wasn't going to happen for a long time. Tsimikas, one that probably doesn't get the praise, but been really good, like for like, with Robertson this season, really. If anything, probably been slightly better than Robertson. Robertson on the weekend was awesome.
I think the thing with Tsimikas that goes against him is, I said to you before, I don't actually know what he looks like. He's been at the club for sort of 18 months.
He's a good-looking fella, mate.
But he's been so limited, despite how good he's been. Klopp doesn't rotate very well, especially Robertson. He hasn't played enough as he probably should have.
I do think something Klopp's really improved on as of late is the rotation. Liverpool are rotating the side a lot more. You look at the centre-backs, you're looking at the 2 left-backs, and obviously the front 3, 4, whatever you want to call it, and the midfielders rotate themselves through injury and things like that anyway. Obviously, Chamberlain's been really good the last couple of games, but I do feel as though Liverpool have kind of, I don't know if they've stumbled across their best side. I think you've always wanted to see Thiago, Fabinho, Henderson. But with the Jota and Firmino thing, I think it's Jota.
Yeah, I think you're right. The Fabinho, Thiago and Henderson thing, the 3rd time they've ever played together was this weekend. It's the 3rd time they've got on the same pitch together, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Harvey Elliott started the season really well, obviously got injured, and he was in the first choice 11, it seemed, for that period of time. Liverpool got a Champions League final tomorrow. Is that the midfield you want to see for Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago?
I think it has to be, doesn't it? Certainly if you're picking the Galacticos, right? If you're picking 3 big names.
Yeah, no, you're right. And number 9, you're going with Jota every day?
I would.
It seems more, you said, we've both spoke about this before. A few weeks ago, I said it didn't feel right with Jota. It didn't feel quite natural. I think you said the other day, or perhaps today, that it feels natural now. He's making the runs. He looks like a number 9 as opposed to a winger doing a job as a number 9.
I thought on the weekend against Southampton, his movement was fantastic. The way that he drafted into the midfield, took the centre-backs with him, created gaps for the other 2. His movement off the ball was just fantastic all game. The 2 goals he scored in the box, I love that. Great movement again. I think his link-up play has been really good. His hold-up play has improved. He's good in the air. He's quick. He's so energetic. He's just a really good player, mate. I'd always go. He's goal threat, so I'd always go for him over Firmino.
I think for me, the saving grace for Firmino as to why Firmino will still probably start 30 games this season is the fact that Jota is so good on the wing, and he is very much a winner playing up front as opposed to would be being a striker doing a job on the wing.
Yeah.
The fact that it's so easy to rotate if Klopp were to decide to give Mane a rest, that Firmino can come back in, because on performances, I can't see Firmino getting close to that if everyone's fair on it.
No, perhaps not. It's just great for Liverpool to see the options they've actually got and been able to rotate those forward. Something we don't mention is Divock Origi. To be fair, although uninspiring at times, whenever he comes in, he does do a job. And the goal that he scored the other week, like scorpion kick goal, I don't know if he meant it, but what a finish!
Unbelievable. Joel Matip, seen an argument on TikTok earlier. You might have seen it.
Yeah.
You've said this to me before. To be fair, you said this to me 2 years ago. So I'll give you credit on this.
Yeah.
Joel Matip, better centre half than Harry Maguire. And I think for a period, perhaps over the summer, just because of the praise and traction that Maguire was getting, and one thing and another, you probably said I want a lot in it. Maybe you'd edge with Maguire, but you've always maintained that Matip is everything that Maguire is.
I've always maintained that we're a very similar level. I'm not going to get carried away and say that Matip's miles better. I think it is close. What I would say is Maguire's best is perhaps better than Matip's best. But Matip's more consistent, albeit consistent. He's injured all the time. I take that on board. But what I'd ask anybody, in Matip's 3, 4, 5 years at Liverpool, name me a mistake.
No, you're absolutely right. I can't think of it.
Good on the ball, as good in the air as Maguire. Stylistically, I think they're quite similar players. Both quite slow, both very good in the air, very dominant in the air, both very good on the ball. I personally would go with Joel Matip. I'd edge with it. But
would.
Yeah, I would. Still would.
Very unfashionable as a defender in terms of people's perception, but incredibly effective, incredibly consistent.
It's not recognised enough. It's not.
And with the options Liverpool now have, he is still very much not first choice, or Van Dijk's first choice, but he is always in there, seems to be in their best 11. Finally on Liverpool, we mention the title race a lot. Every other week we seem to talk about it because it's such an exciting title race this year. If on New Year's Day there's sort of 4 points between the three sides, I think we're in for an incredible second half of the season. Liverpool's bench, as much as it seems, like I said, they've got some new players in. Seems like they've had new signings when players come back from injury. It's great. Everyone seems to be fit. You look at that bench and this huge drop off in quality that they are literally an injury or two away from a full blown crisis again that they had last year.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. They probably have like a 14, 15 man first team squad, as in 14 or 15 players that are good enough to be in that first team without it doing too much damage. You're probably looking at the 11 that played on the weekend. You're looking at Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott to come back in. They've got 4 top quality centre backs, 2 good left backs, and a good front 4. You're probably about 15 players. Whereas you look at Chelsea, and that's as a minimum, by the way. Man City and Chelsea, you're looking at 25. That is probably the fundamental difference. I'd probably argue, though, Liverpool's starting 11 might be slightly more attractive than the other two. But then that is a matter of subjectivity, really. I don't know if it...
I think you're absolutely right, mate. Hand on heart, though, do you think that'll be their undoing?
I don't think Liverpool will win the league.
You don't?
No.
Despite the fact that, like you said, their first 11 is probably the best. Interesting. Finally, I want to finish on. I made a video, we spoke about this the other day.
Dropping a link to the TikTok channel, are you?
Yeah, I will do. We'll put it in the show notes if anyone wants to have a look. We started it this week, just because we got too many ideas that we can't fit them all on this show that we do every week. Brighton played Leeds at the weekend. Brighton hit the post 3 times, had about 20 shots, dominated the game, should have won by 3 or 4 goals. I know they haven't won in 8 in the league, which is obviously not a great stat, but they're still 8th in the league. Course of boos after the game, albeit not all 4 corners of the ground, but a course of boos nonetheless towards Brighton and Graham Potter. What was your thoughts seeing that?
Education needed.
Yeah?
I watched Brighton in a championship when they first built the new ground. I can remember Brighton playing at the Withdean when it was a running track and they had a temporary stand, and that was only about 12 years ago. Probably had 6,000 capacity. I look at where they are now, 30,000 seater, playing Premier League football. Not only playing Premier League football, but actually being in the top half. Not only being in the top half, but playing attractive football with an innovative English manager, bringing new ideas, like you mentioned Dan Burn on the last podcast that we put out. The football that they play is the envy of Man United and Tottenham. So either I need an education or they need an education.
Spot on. Graham Potter will undoubtedly go on to bigger and better things than Brighton and Hove Albion. Make no mistake about that. He is a young coach that is well sought after, well thought of, and could, I have no doubt, I have a strong inclination that he will manage England in the next 10 years. I really do. I think he's that good. I really like him. As well, you're right, they're top half of the table. Historically, in my lifetime, a second or third division club. In my lifetime. relegation battle in every season they've been in the Premier League, despite staying up.
Yeah.
They're in the top half this season. That's unheard of. They played a Leeds United side who, by all accounts, are an enormous club in comparison, and they've played them off the park. Graham Potter, in my mind, is working the oracle with unfashionable players that on an individual basis probably wouldn't start for many other teams. And I'm being harsh. I'm not trying to say they're bad players, but they're not. You don't look at them as a team of superstars or a team of great individuals.
You're not looking at them like Alan St. Maximin at Newcastle and thinking he could play for a top side.
Exactly that. And players at Aston Villa, I look at John McGinn.
Could be in a top side again. Yeah.
Tyrone Mings, very good player. Ollie Watkins, Danny Ings. They've got good. I don't think Brighton have that luxury, which emphasises my point again of how much Graham Potter is in fact working the oracle. I think he's doing a great job.
He is doing a fantastic job, mate. And I just think,
smell the coffee.
Got to wake up and smell the coffee, absolutely. And for Brighton fans out there listening, honestly, you need to appreciate what you've got. Because I'm going to tell you something now. If you finish 17th this season, it's still a good finish for you. Honestly,
absolutely.
Size of the club. So take that on board.
Right, mate. I don't know if you've seen this. Just to finish off, at the weekend there was an FA Cup game. I think it was an FA Cup game, preliminary round. Chester against Curzon Ashton. See that?
I was there.
You were there? Oh, you go on.
I played.
What happened?
No, I didn't, mate.
Halfway through the game, or I think it was maybe 20 minutes in, something like this. The details aren't quite. I might not have them quite right, but say 20 minutes in, Tannoy went. The referee had to go off and move his car. The game was paused for about 15 minutes. Honestly, he's blocking someone in.
Did he get a parking ticket?
I don't know if he did. I think he got clamped, actually. I don't think he quite got out. But yeah, true story. The game was stopped because the referee had to move his car. Didn't see that. That is what you call grassroots. You know, the football pyramid, the FA Cup, the fighting spirit of this country. It was due to be ruined by the European Super League and a greed of about 16.
So my advice to you, the listener, is if you're refereeing a professional game of football, don't park your car on double yellow lines. This is full-on football.